How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Elvis Youngster Reviews. Today we are looking at another product from ScaleTrains. Today we are looking at a ScaleTrains rivet counter GE ET44AH Tier 4 GEVO in the Indo-Pacific flag scheme. This is UP2579 with the square exhaust. This is from their latest run, which came out a few months ago. I'm a little late, but oh well. As you see, we have our nice ScaleTrains box. We're going to move this off to the side. We have a nice foam pad protecting the locomotive inside. And here is our operator's manual. It's very basic. It just says like basic instructions. There's no exploded diagram, which is a bit of a shame. I wish they would do this because that would help with repairs if you needed to do that. Here's our locomotive, all nice in its foam cradle inside this plastic here. So we're just gonna pull it out of that foam there. Let's move the box off to the side. It is in the plastic blister shell. Let's pull that off. There we go. We have a piece of foam here to keep the plastic from bending in on itself. And we have some spare roller bearings. That's right, the roller bearings on this locomotive do roll, which is really cool. Open up the clamshell. And as you can see, there's our locomotive looking all nice and snug, all happy. And as you see, we have a lot of foam here. So I'm going to grab it right here. As you can see, it has little truck stabilizers here that we're going to pull out. Come on. There we go. And we're going to pull this one out right here. All right. Going to send the locomotive down really quickly so I can take the clamshell and move that off to the side where it will not be in the way. Okay. Now we have to get this foam out, which will be fun. Be a lot of fun here. Come on, there we go. There's one. Here is two. And we have two more on this side. This one will slide out very nicely, easily. All right, and there we go. All right, now it's out. Now that it is out of the box, let's get into some history. And now on to some history. Introduced in 2012, General Electric's ET44 GEVO locomotive was designed to meet stringent EPA emission regulations. Despite boxier engine cab rooflines and a radically styled radiator, the basic Tier 4 design shares a similar appearance with GE safety cab equipped units going back to the Dash 8 CWs of the early 1990s. They even feature the same 12-cylinder GEVO 12 series prime mover and 4,400 horsepower as the ES44. With over 1,000 units built, the ET44 is a common sight on Class 1 railroads in North America. Our locomotive here, number 2579, was built between September and December of 2015 and is still in service today. It is one of the earlier variants of the Tier 4, and that is indicated by the square exhaust roofline here. Earlier versions had that square exhaust, but as the 2010 decade commenced, it was determined that that exhaust port needed to be angled due to some tunnel problems in the northeast. If you remember the CSX Tier 4 that I reviewed, that had an angled exhaust, and now we have a square exhaust. All right, so now that we've gone through some history, let's get into some details, starting with the front. Alrighty, so now starting at the top and working our way down the bottom as we always do. Just above the number boards, you can see a grab iron right here and what is the PTC antenna array. We will get into that when we're looking at the roof of the locomotive. Speaking of number boards, here they are right here. They say 2579 and they do light up when the locomotive is in motion. Working on our way down here to the windshields, we have some separately applied windshield wipers. We have a multitude of grab irons here, two on this angled side, two right here, and two more right there. You can also see our sand filler hatches, one here and one here. Moving down to the actual nose of the locomotive, let's focus on the nose. There we go. We have our headlight right here, as well as a large door. Here is our grab irons that work their way from the top of the nose down to the walkway here. And as you can see, we have our Union Pacific shield with the wings, which is a very iconic scheme. We also have our walkway, which is painted this light gray. It's also the same color that is on the top of the nose here. I believe this was to minimize the glare effect from the sun when the locomotive was in motion. On top of the walkway, we have our ditch lights right here. They do operate when the locomotive is in motion. And we also have our walkway handles as well as the walkway chain right here. And we have our grab irons here that are painted white, which is very nice. Working our way here down to the anti-climber right here. we have a MU cable that runs the width of the anti-climber right here. Here's our coupler cut bar right here. We have another MU opening right there. We have all of our hoses right here, MU hoses right here and right there. And here is our air brake hose, and here is our ScaleTrains metal coupler. And speaking of which, here is our snowplow. Alrighty, so now that we've gone through the front, let's go to the back. Looking at the rear of the locomotive now, starting at the top here, we have our numbers right here, 2579, 2 on either side, right above that red sill stripe right there. Here is our rear headlight that does operate when the locomotive is in motion. We have a couple of radiator grills right here for that very large radiator. We have our sand filler hatch, two vertically placed white grab irons. Here is our I forgot to mention this on the front, but we do have, these are the walkway lights right here, that little hole. And here is our walkway. There is the rear. There's not really an anti-climber, but there's a step right here, so you can traverse from one locomotive to the other. We have our coupler cut bar right here, as well as the more MU cables, as well as right down here. Here is our coupler, our air brake hose, and here are spare knuckle couplers for if in case the knuckle on your train breaks, you need to replace it. Well, there you go. You have some spares right there for you, and we have more grab iron walkway handles. All right, so now let's look at the side. All right, so we're starting on the conductor's side of the locomotive so that we can go into some detail. We have right here, we have a nice big sunshade. There's that PTC antenna array that I mentioned earlier. We have some electrical boxes right here. Here's a jack pad. Then there's our number 2579. And if you look very closely, this is what the UP labels this locomotive as, a C45AH. Right down here, we have a big red F indicator. This is the front of the locomotive. Here is our truck detail, as you can see, and there are our rotating roller bearing end caps, which is very nice. Moving this way, you can see the nice Union Pacific shield, as well as Building America. And and right there is the E-bell, right there. Moving the locomotive this way, we have our big 5,000-gallon fuel tank right here. Here is our horn right there. There is the American flag flying happily on the side of this locomotive, and the nice thing is it will never get dirty and its reputation will not get tarnished. Unless you decide to weather it, but I don't like to weather my things because I like them to be nice and clean. Moving on here this way, we have you can see the big square exhaust area right here, right in front of the radiator. And as you can see, the radiator is see-through, which is very nice. I always like that about ScaleTrains locomotives. Right there is our big brake wheel right here. And also you will notice this chain here, white chain. It is plastic chain, unlike on Atlas locomotives, which actually is a real metal chain, which is really cool. And as you can see, it's not actually attached. So if I was to, I don't know, move this, it moves like that, which is a little funny. And there's a little see-through window right there. Moving on to the engineer's side of the locomotive. Come on, there's our GE builder's plate, which gives us more information about the locomotive. There's our number again. Here is the sunshade, and we have another Union Pacific Building America and the shield right there. And there is our jack pad. Moving the locomotive forward, as you can see, here are the air tanks right here that are above the fuel tank. We have another American flag, and it's pretty much the same on the other side, minus that brake wheel. All right, so now let's look at the roof. All right, so now you can really see that PTC array here on top of the roof. PTC stands for Positive Train Control, and it is a safety measure. Basically, let's say the conductor and the engineer become indisposed or unresponsive because they've passed out or from exhaustion or whatever. If a control or the horn or the bell are not activated within a certain amount of time, this indicates it triggers in a full e-brake application. The train will be stopped, and then once the PTC has been fixed, it will continue moving. Moving on this way, you can see our horn here. Nice, lovely wax cast of a horn. And you can see the radiator section right here. And you will see this big square exhaust area. Now this is to hold emission controlling electronics that monitor the emissions coming out of the engine, which is in this compartment in this area. We have our large radiator section. I love that radiator section. I don't know what it is about it, but I just like the look of it. A lot of people disagree. All right, so let's get into my final thoughts. So I have to give this locomotive an overall A. It's really great. ScaleTrains really knocked it out of the park once again. They've always been good on their quality, and this locomotive is no exception. It looks great. It also runs great. I did do my little test to make sure it did run. I didn't have any problems with it, unlike the Athearn SD70 that I reviewed the last video was. But yeah, I still recommend that you try to get one of these. You can find them all over the place. I found mine on Lombard Hobbies for about 180 bucks, but oh well. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. Also subscribe if you have not, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload. I'm trying to upload on a weekly basis at Wednesdays at 9 a.m., but work's really getting in the way, so just be aware that I might not always be able to upload on a consistently, like on a weekly basis. There might be a week or two gap in between videos, but I'm hoping to fix that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.